I didn't defend myself until it became to a physical confrontation, till he came at me, and as he came at me, I defended myself. That's it. And that's what's on camera. He charges at me. Doesn't just come at me, he charges at me, yeah, with his hands up.
The latest MSM, police and Westminster establishment bid to destroy Tommy Robinson ahead of his Uniting the Kingdom rally next month is about to fall flat on its face. But trust me, the usual cretins are going to do all they can to try and heap more pain on this man who, let's be honest, is already a victim of the deep state. So you remember last week, the British Transport Police issued extraordinary public messaging after this incident was flashed across social media.
I am in London and I had a fight with the door. And I am at London Real. Where are we?
This is London Real, baby. This is where it happens.
Now, Tommy reported that incident. He said it was self-defense. He reported it to the police, explained that it was a drunken leftist who had gone up against, consulted with lawyers, and then left on a pre-planned overseas work trip. While there, he agreed to change his flights back as early as possible in order to assist police with their inquiries. A moment that, as you can see, was immediately leaked to the Sun newspaper, who could all look down on their readers, right, by lambasting Tommy as a far-right thug. As Ezra Levant of Rebel News revealed, I know how this works. The Sun was definitely tipped off without any doubt. And sure enough, the authorities used the dramatic imagery to do all they can yet again to shut down the biggest enemy to the British establishment, with cops announcing proudly on social media. Officers have this evening arrested a 42-year-old man from Bedfordshire in connection to the incident at Saint Pancras. The arrest took place at Luton Airport shortly after 6:30 p.m. Officers from BPT have tonight arrested, and then they went on to say that the man had been wanted for questioning after leaving the country to Tenerife in the early hours of the 29th of July following the incident at St Pancras. He was arrested on suspicion of GBH, grievous bodily harm, and will now be taken to custody for questioning. Of course, as you can imagine, the MSM, they were delighted to play their usual role too. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favour, click the subscribe button now, turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos.
To bring you from British Transport Police. They say in a statement this evening that officers from British Transport Police have tonight arrested a 42-year-old man from Bedfordshire in connection with an assault at St Pancras station on the 28th of July. The arrest took place at Luton Airport shortly after 6:30 p.m. following a notification that the man had boarded an incoming flight from Farrow. The man had been wanted for questioning after leaving the country to Tenerife in the early hours of the 29th of July following the incident at St Pancras. He was arrested on suspicion of grievous bodily harm and will now be taken to custody for questioning. Now, that's the statement from British Transport Police, and it comes after a video emerged last week appearing to show the right-wing activist Tommy Robinson walking back and forth next to a man lying motionless on the ground at St Pancras station.
Breaking news for you now on the show, and it's this. Tommy Robinson has been arrested at Luton Airport after a video emerged which appeared to show the activist walking away from the scene of an alleged assault at St Pancras railway station.
The Sun then breathlessly reported the arrest from a source who was on the plane, revealing what really happened. I was going to the toilet and I noticed he was sitting down on our flight, they said. I knew he was wanted for the attack, so I had an idea of what was going to play out when we landed. Not many people knew who he was on board, so other passengers were shocked to see police officers waiting outside for him. They must have known he was coming back. there were 2 police vans waiting outside for him, and when he walked to the front of the plane, there were officers waiting at the doors. As soon as he came down the stairs, he was grabbed by an officer. There were about 4 or 5 officers around him, and he was quickly escorted into a police van. Nick Lowles, of Hope Not Hate, the only man whose misinformation actually caused violent clashes during last year's so-called riots, was cock-a-hoop, posting, "Arrested." And then he used the arrest to try and shut down next month's Uniting the Kingdom rally, posting 20 minutes after Tommy Robinson is arrested on suspicion of GBH. It is announced that former SBS soldier Ant Middleton will speak at Tommy's September demo. So much for standing up for law and order. But actually, if you believe in law and order, Nick Lowles, surely you would appreciate there is a process that has to be followed here. I mean, do you remember what Don Keith told me on Outspoken earlier in the week?
So there is footage out there to show exactly what happened. So if you're planning on going out there and lying about Robinson, just be aware there's footage out there to be seen that shows his side of the story.
Indeed, Don was actually live on air with James Harvey when the news broke. And unlike those MSM reports, he was actually able to report honestly that this was all prearranged.
Another thing I saw, I believe it was this week, the government has agreed to take in hundreds of kids from Gaza.
Don, apparently Tommy's been arrested.
Oh no!
It says that Tommy's been arrested.
I knew he was going back today. He told me he was going. He actually told me he was coming back today. He was going to turn himself in. So I figured that was going to happen.
Yeah, he's just been arrested, Luton Airport. It's all over the news.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's just like I told you, harassment causing fear of violence doesn't apply to someone harassing and causing fear of violence to Tommy Robinson. If he defends himself and he feels threatened and someone harasses him enough to make him feel threatened, he defends himself, he's not going to get the same leniency that everyone else gets. So it doesn't apply to Tommy Robinson, anyone else on the right, as a matter of fact. But, the footage is out there, man. That guy was a complete psychopath. And I can tell you he was screaming to the top of his lungs, clenched fists and all these things. The video's there to support it. There is video footage out there that's gonna show what a psychopath this guy was. I know that for a fact, 100%. So, public opinion's gonna get to weigh in on this. Now, I don't know if they'll show the security footage that was at Saint Pancras station, but there's other footage out there. Trust me. So
let's see the damn footage. Tommy was released on bail at 1 a.m. and in the past few hours has released a bombshell video, absolutely delighted, because the CCTV he was shown by police indeed backs up his version of events, making it clear he was defending himself after being charged at by the so-called victim.
I'm going to be honest, possibly one of the worst weeks of my life. I was worried, very worried. I thought I was being stitched up. I didn't think they'd have the CCTV. I was detained yesterday on GBH Section 18 and I was interviewed. And what my request would be right now is release the footage for the public to see, okay? That's what everyone needs to see, the footage. Not that little clip, you need to see the footage. Don't listen to the accounts given in newspapers. You need to see the footage, okay? What the footage will show you is that I was walking home, another gentleman who come off the train, and he should be leaving Saint Pancras, saw me, followed me, confronted me, got hair in my face for minutes. Yeah, I tried to get away from him. I tried everything. I tried telling him to leave me alone. I warned him so many times, please get away, stop accosting me, right? Leave me alone. He threatened me. He continually chased me, basically, yeah? Until the point when we get to the top of the stairs, which is where there are some accounts of what happened, but no one's seen what happened previously. Thank God it's on CCTV. You can see him harassing me in my face so much, yeah? And you can see me trying to get away so much. So, at which point, the only time when I didn't defend myself, even though I probably should have when you watch the footage. I should have done it a minute before. I didn't defend myself until it became to a physical confrontation, till he came at me, and as he comes at me, I defended myself. That's it. And that's what's on camera. He charges at me. Doesn't just come at me, he charges at me, yeah, with his hands up.
But what's interesting is Tommy said he does not blame the accuser, but rather the fake news media. And thankfully, he has now come to the realization that he cannot walk the streets.
I wish him well. I do not blame that gentleman because he's been lied to by a fake news media. He's been told I'm Satan. He's been told I'm someone I'm not. So I don't blame him. Yeah? At the same time, I'm not a human punchbag. I have to be able to walk the streets. I think, unfortunately, I've come to the realisation now I can't walk the streets because the worry and fear I've had for the last 7 days. Let me get some other points clear. Yeah? I contacted the police. Me. Straight away. Okay? I told them exactly what I saw on the CCTV yesterday, exactly what I told them. I was trying to get home, I was accosted, I was followed, I was threatened, I was harassed, and then in the end I had to defend myself. That's exactly what the footage shows. Okay? Now, I don't believe there's even a complainant in this case. So I've been arrested. I don't believe there's a complainant. I believe when the complainant sees the footage, he was drunk. He's going to have woke up with a sore head, right? But he was drunk as well.
But it was important for Tommy to clarify that unlike the reporting in the MSM suggested, he didn't go on the run.
And just to clear something up for the media said I went on the run. So I produced to the police, which, let me get something clear. I rang the police straight away. I contacted the police straight away. Yeah? My solicitors contacted them at 6 o'clock next morning. We made them aware of where I was, made them aware of the date I was coming home already. Now, just so you know, I've showed evidence to the police that my accommodation, everything was booked before this incident. So before this incident happened, I had a trip planned. Fact. If I had tried to escape the country, like the media have told you, if I went on the run, like the media told you, I wouldn't now have my passport, would I? I don't have a bail condition to stay in the country. I don't have any of those bail conditions. So, also, the police, what's very strange for me is when I landed at Luton, you may have seen the scenes of all the police cars, of all the police. It's me that told them. I arranged to come back. I was flying into Manchester. I changed my flight for them. So I don't know why they made that big scene.
Oh, Tommy, yes, you do. You do. Because I know why they made that big scene. This is all a psyop. It is a psyop designed to stop the Overton window shifting in your direction. But in this case, it looks like the deep state overreach may well backfire.
It's a lie. They lied about his age, everything. A lie. But thank you, everyone. Okay, after seeing the CCTV, I know there's not a jury in the world would convict me of that. So my request to the Metropolitan Police Force is release the footage. Let the public see, okay? Too much bullshit's been happening this week for the last 7 days. I've had to watch, listen to it and read it, okay? I know what happened that day, and I know the man I am, and every one of you know the man I am. I'm not a coward, okay? I'm not a coward. I don't just provoke reactions. I don't just provoke trouble, and I don't just throw punches willy-nilly either. That's only at last resort as defence.
But there are still real concerns here. Ezra Levant, boss of Rebel News, who flew to Britain to be here for Tommy's arrest, believes the police want an elevated and escalated prosecution because they want to cause as much hassle as possible before uniting the kingdom. But first, if you're anything like me, you've spent so much time trying to find the perfect skincare treatments for your face, only to realise you've been neglecting the skin on your neck. But as I've got older, I know that's a massive oversight because the neck is on display all the time, yet lots of folk just treat it as an afterthought in their routine. And I know I'd fallen into that trap. And what's been interesting actually is since starting this campaign with GoPure, I've spoken to many in our Outspoken audience, many women who tell me that they know the skin on their neck is thinner, more delicate and less oily than facial skin, and they need specialised care, but they just don't know where to get it from. And so I have to say, that is why GoPure is the answer. It is an absolutely beautiful product. This is the GoPure Tighten and Lift Neck Cream, and it's transforming the lives and necks of women and some men too, all across the globe. So let me tell you about this gorgeous product because I saw a noticeable difference within just weeks. Oh, and by the way, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off GoPure if you use the code DAN, that's D-A-N, at checkout today. So just head to gopure.com/Dan, use code DAN, and you're all set. But what's so amazing about GoPure is that its proprietary firming complex is actually designed to visibly firm and smooth the skin on your neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. In a consumer study, 100% of users said their skin looked more supple, 97% noticed a firmer appearance. Indeed, GoPure's full line of science-backed skin and body care have delivered for over 100,000 real women with real results. It's dermatologist recommended, cruelty-free, plus with over 1 million jars sold. I don't think you can say this is a beauty secret anymore, right? Because it's not a secret, if you get what I'm saying. So, tighten, lift, and restore elasticity in your neck because your skincare routine shouldn't stop at your jawline. And for that limited time, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off GoPure using the code DAN, D-A-N, at checkout. Just head to gopure.com/Dan, use the code DAN, and you are all set. Quick favor too, after you buy, when they ask you where you heard about GoPure, make sure you tell them it was after watching Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Because it's Tommy, the police see an opportunity, just the same way the regime media see an opportunity. So I'm afraid that they will prosecute him, even though it was in self-defense, which I'm quite sure the closed circuit TV will show. But it gets worse than that. There are different levels of a prosecution for grievous bodily harm, none of which should be put against Tommy because of self-defense. But I'm afraid that the police will go for a elevated, escalated prosecution, which would imply that this was some premeditated act by Tommy as opposed to an emergency self-defense upon being attacked in a subway station. The police don't have to win in the long term. The prosecution don't have to win in the long term. They just have to cause hassles for Tommy. They just have to sweep him off the streets. Remember, Tommy's got a big rally in London on September 13th. Boy, the police and the prosecution and the politicians and the press, they would all love it if Tommy Robinson could not attend his own rally because he was on trial for self-defense. That's why that bail hearing is so important. By the way, we'll know what requirements the court puts on Tommy if bail is required. I should tell you that I have offered to pledge a surety to help assure the court that Tommy will attend. Like I say, I've known the lad for 10 years. He simply doesn't run away.
And Ezra also believes that the mainstream media is to blame for the attack.
I believe the regime media in the UK are to blame for the violent events of the other day at Saint Pancras station. And here's why. They have pumped out so much hatred and so much disinformation about Tommy Robinson that a random man who is probably disposed to committing violent acts to begin with, when he saw Tommy Robinson in the wild at a subway station without a group around him, without a bodyguard, took it upon himself to be violent towards Tommy. He would not have done that. That would not have happened were it not for a decade of targeted hatred towards Tommy by the regime media. Tommy, unlike most people though, could defend himself, and unlike the 940,000 crimes that were reported in London last year, in this case, self-defense won the...
Well, let's see if self-defense wins the day. But the reality is that life in Sadiq Khan's lawless London means Tommy Robinson, like so many of us, are simply no longer safe being in public on our own.
It's just, it really is a crime wave at the feet of their horrific mayor, Sadiq Khan. I have no doubt that the majority of Londoners have had either a crime committed against them or observed a crime on the subway station. In this case, the person who was supposed to be the victim decided to defend himself. I think that Tommy has a 50-50 chance of being let go right away by police because of self-defense. But it being Tommy Robinson and the police being instruments of the state and Tommy being an enemy of the state, it would not surprise me at all if the police decided to proceed against him, even though, and even if, self-defense is made out in these closed circuit TV cameras. Why would that be surprising? The police have bent or broken the law to go after Tommy many times before.
Now, I've actually spoken to Tommy earlier today about the security situation. I'll tell you where we're at in just one moment. But first, I wanted to share you what Lawrence Fox has to say about it. He wrote, Tommy should have been with a security detail, which says enough on its own. The state has cooked his brain. leaving him suffering with PTSD after months in solitary confinement following years of unending abuse for pointing out the greatest self-inflicted national atrocity in British history, the rape of Britain. Whether you like it or not, he has a target on his back. This is not an excuse for what happened, and when we are finally shown the full footage from the multiple CCTV cameras which the police have access to, and if he is revealed to have acted disproportionately, then the law will do its thing as it should. But at the moment, this is just conjecture. The broader question is why we tolerate and even cheer on a system that consistently endorses the systemic persecution of any individual. Violence is very rarely the answer to anything. But having had my own fair share of people goading and hoping to make me snap in public, I understand how these things happen. I am very pleased the man has been released from hospital, and I hope he is okay. I also hope the full facts of the event are made public in short order, instead of the measly snippets from the media which we have become so accustomed to following years of cover-ups and misdirection. We live in a low-trust society. Trust is fundamental to cohesion. We should demand the same rigour applied to this case as any other. We should trust that justice is blind, but we know it's not. And look, Tommy has taken all of this very seriously. I think he is listening to people like Lawrence, to people like me, who are now clear that his security is now under serious threat. I spoke to him earlier today and made it clear that it would be irresponsible at the moment for him to be travelling on his own to work commitments in London, and he completely agrees. But this whole incident has provoked serious debate, even on the right, actually, because let me show you what World by Wolf posted on this, and it was a bit of a different take. They wrote, the last thing the government wants is Tommy Robinson holding successful, peaceful Unite the Kingdom rallies that grow in size and empowers the, quote, far right. All Tommy had to do was keep his head down and be disciplined. Instead, he always gives the establishment an excuse to nick him. But Liam Tufts, Tommy's close friend, takes a very different stance. Writing in defence, I know Tommy Robinson and his family well enough to know he would never go out with the intention of hurting anyone. History proves he is a defender of the vulnerable. History also proves he's been targeted by extremists and randomly attacked on a multitude of occasions. People are currently in jail for planning to blow him up. To put things into perspective, he is a target. The media and establishment have made damn sure of it. It's not safe being Tommy Robinson, and this cannot be denied. I've witnessed firsthand people trying to provoke him on the street. I've watched him come under attack. I've also watched him calm situations down and be the bigger man. I don't like to see anyone get hurt, but I'd be prepared to put my mortgage on the fact that the incident that allegedly took place at Saint Pancras would have been an act of defence or prevention. A very sad situation all round. And perhaps it's actually Chris Davies of True Conservative Media who summed it up best with just one line. Tommy Robinson is the state's Pinata. Now, the Superstar Panel. And it is wonderful to be joined by top media strategist Lauren Lunn Farrow and leader of the Heritage Party David Kurten. David, we know, and you know, given your history in London, that this city, the capital city of the United Kingdom, is now lawless. And such terrible violent crimes go on a daily basis. Yet look at these scenes at Luton Airport last night. This was all for show. It was all a performance for the mainstream media, because when you think about it, Tommy Robinson had already made pre-arrangements with the police to come back and be arrested, yet they sent all of those security guards, all of those police officers to paddy wagons, knowing that the footage was going to be filmed for The Sun. And it's a completely different type of policing than virtually any other violent crime, which, let's be honest, I know from my own life, right? When my neighbours were violently attacked, just ignored by the police. They don't even bother to turn up when it's actually happening.
Yeah, Dan, to me, this just looks like another example of two-tier policing. When I was in the London Assembly, I confronted Sadiq Khan about this twice, this different methods of policing for people who are on the right, if you like, for freedom against state overreach, traditionalists, Christians, conservatives, whatever you like to call us. We can all sort of broadly walk in the same channel, and we broadly want the same thing. And the police treat us with utter contempt, with violence and brutality. You see here with Tommy Robinson, whatever happened in St Pancras. Why on earth did they tell the media beforehand to make an arrest for someone for what was, if it was a crime? I don't think it was, but if it was a they would, and someone else would report something similar, and as you say, the vast majority of the times the police wouldn't blink an eyelid to come to the assistance of someone who needed their help if there was a burglary in their house, or if their phone was stolen from them, or if they were hit on the street. So this is blatant two-tier policing. And the thing that would stop this speculation immediately, as you've said, and as Tommy Robinson himself has said, is that if they release the footage, which they obviously have got from the security cameras at St Pancras station, rather than this dragging this on and making this into a media spectacle. And I think that's what we need,
100%,
because there are far, far more important things to be concerned with at the moment than this incident that happened in St Pancras station.
100%, but they won't. They will not release it. Now, Lauren, you have been doing some really fascinating analysis on how the mainstream media is covering different stories in regards to Tommy. And I wanted to share one post that we spoke about yesterday. Now, this was in regards initially to Tommy Robinson making that announcement that he was joining the Advance UK party. And you wrote, only one piece of national MSM has run, an opinion piece in the Telegraph. This is not factual news reporting. And you say the censorship of Tommy Robinson by the MSM continues when it doesn't fit their narrative. Remember, you have to put the time in to get factual news. You cannot trust the MSM on news when it doesn't fit the agenda. Like him or not, Robinson joining Advance UK is a huge political story that should be covered by the MSM. And then bing, just like that, you say, Lauren, the MSM coverage regarding the Tommy Robinson story that does fit their narrative explodes. This isn't about Robinson. This is about the mainstream media censoring your news. Stop taking the great British public for fools. We will not have it. And I wanted to set that up in the digest as well, Lauren, because we saw quite clearly the only time that the mainstream media go totally obsessive with Tommy Robinson, including GB News, by the way, my former employer, and shame on them for this, is when he is literally in trouble with the law, when there is an official deep state perspective on something like him being arrested. Then they go crazy. His announcement that he was joining Advance UK was just totally ignored by the mainstream media altogether, apart from that one piece that you found.
They all went mute on it. It was unbelievable. Yep. And this is such lazy journalism as well, because this is a huge story. It absolutely should be covered in the national press and not in one opinion article. But this is the mainstream all over. They paint Tommy in a narrative that suits them. They do not want to acknowledge the good that Tommy does and how many people actually back him and love him. And I think they're starting to realize that their readers do like Tommy, and they're having to make some really subtle but careful manipulating decisions on this. You see The Sun, they've previously discussed Robinson as a far-right thug. It's now an activist, far-right activist. And I posted about this. I knew this was coming. I knew this manipulation was coming and they wouldn't be transparent about it. But you will never get the full truth about Tommy Robinson from the mainstream media. It's propaganda.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.